Welcome everyone, and thank you so much for joining me inside the Diana Wright Show live online. We would like to hope that this will be a great day for you, and of course we hope that you looked in the mirror this morning and say, I love me. Yeah, we hope you did that, because coming up April 30th is the National I Love Me Day, and I'd like you to spread the word through Facebook and give us the thumbs up on Facebook and the like on Facebook. All right, so once again we thank you so much for joining us, and we begin today with Venezuelans in Miami. About 40,000 Venezuelans live in Miami. They're wealthy ones, we're told. They were celebrating yesterday after the death of Hugo Chavez, the president of Venezuela, was announced, and they were in their bars and having fun and celebrating, but they want to remind you that you should not chide them for celebrating someone's death. But the fact that they're celebrating getting back their country and the hope of democracy in their country now that Chavez has passed on. And they just want democracy. They just want their country back. Because, see, a lot of people who are here in America, who are even American citizens by naturalization, their hope generally, it seems Cubans and now Venezuelans, are just to go back home to what they're accustomed to. Because the life that a lot of them are accustomed to back home, they can't afford that same lifestyle in the U.S. So that is what is happening in Miami. It happened and started happening from yesterday. So my question is, before we get on with the show, is it good to be celebrating the death of a leader of your country, your homeland, where you're from, when they die? Yeah. Is it the proper thing to do? Or should we just forget that the guy did all those bad things? A lot of people who are living in Miami from Venezuela say they left Venezuela because they thought what they had was going to be taken away from them. Now, Chavez was a very colorful, aggressive, person who seemed to have hated the United States, referred to President George W. Bush as the devil, and all those other things, even though we purchase a lot of oil from Venezuela. I think the U.S. actually is the #1 purchaser of oil from Venezuela. So I just thought and wondered if you think it's okay for someone to basically be stomping on your grave before you're actually buried. Chavez died yesterday, and his body will lie in state until his burial on Friday. So the funeral takes place on Friday, and I just thought that the question for this day is that should Venezuelans living in Miami, 40,000 strong, should they be actually celebrating or just waiting to see what happens next? Because that's my next question. What happens next in Venezuela? The person that Chavez left in charge, the vice president, is he going to follow the policies of Chavez, or is he going to go with the will of the people? Because remember now, there was just an election last year, the end of last year. So what happens next? Is this vice president going to continue as the president? Or will there have to be a new election to see if the party that lost will actually win now, because Chavez is not there, and people are suspecting that the new vice president does not have the clout or the love of the people that Chavez had, because Chavez gave away housing and free gas, and I don't think he handled the money of the state very well. And of course, he lived in the lap of luxury anyway, even though he pretended and seemed to be a revolutionary in public. So they're calling him Castro with oil. Castro is still alive, yes, and who knew that Chavez would actually die at 58 before Castro? who he emulated and asked to be his mentor. So I'm just wondering, is it good or is it bad for the Venezuelans? Or should they just be happy and jubilant about the fact that their country now has the possibility of becoming a democracy, a true democracy? And then there's Argentina, with a female president lurking in the woods there too, who was a great supporter of Chavez and the Venezuelan government. So what's next for Venezuela, you might ask? We are all going to have to be watching and waiting and seeing what happens next. Are the people going to get up and revolt because they loved, or they say they loved, Chavez? Or are they going to come to the realization that democracy is indeed a better way to go? And trying to kill the United States, who is purchasing your oil, is not exactly the right role to take. So, as we watch the lying in state of the body of President Hugo Chavez, we will also watch to see what happens next in Venezuela. Are the 40,000 Venezuelans who are wealthy living in Miami going to then go back home? Could the government be overthrown? Will there be another election? Will the opposition win? The opposition tended to be more democratic. So we'll wait and see what happens in Venezuela, because Venezuela is indeed a very important country in that region of South America. So what does this actually mean for the United States? Depending on how this leader is. He's obviously not a military man, but what will he do next? And remember now, all that staff that's left there are all supporters, or supposedly supporters. Because when you are president of a country, or prime minister, or chancellor, or whatever, you're never sure about all the people that surrounds you. Because remember now, you're not taking out or replacing every single staff member in your government. You are actually just replacing the top advisors and keeping the people that you think are close to you, close to you. So how do you know? Who do you trust? Because we all have that aha, wow moment when we realize that there's a mole in our midst. Someone who pretended to be with us, but they're actually not with us. They're trying to use us for where they can go in their lives. Yeah, I'm sure each and every one of us have experienced that. So as I encourage you to love yourself this morning, and encourage you to teach your children to love themselves, especially, despite how they look, how they think they look, what they have and what they don't have. I want you to think of Chavez, Hugo Chavez, the president of Venezuela, who thought he was the ruler of the universe based on the way he talked and the way he behaved and the way he chanted against the United States. I just wonder if he had thought that cancer would take him out at 58. Because there's always a moment in each of our lives when we say to ourselves, I never imagined that this would happen to me. How could I have imagined that this could happen to my child? How could I have imagined that my husband or my significant other did this to me? Or how could I have imagined that this friend that you thought was such a wonderful human being turned out to be a demon? A wolf in sheep's clothing. How many of us had to sit back and wonder about that? Because life throws us curveballs, and it's just about how you decide to handle that curveball. Are you going to roll up and play dead? Or are you going to stand up and fight with everything you've got? You got to fight. What are you going to do? What choices are you going to make? The choice you should make is one that tells you to get up and fight. I watched a program this morning on TBN about miracles and how people, they featured one dad and his daughter who was about 6 years old. They were having the same recurring dream and kept having the same recurring dream until that dream was figured out when they tried to move to another state and get on their journey of driving. The miracle was revealed on the road. Because you see, the husband lost his job suddenly because the plant that he was working at decided to close. He looked and he looked for jobs while his wife, who is a writer, started writing a book about her grandmother's recipes that she had found in the attic. You can find treasures in your attic, you know. Did you know that? Yeah. So he went and he looked for a job and he found a job. But when he found the job meant that he had to sell his beautiful house that they had become so attached to because they had actually made it from a house to a home. And they were happy there. They were content. They were satisfied. They felt that that was God's blessings to them. So he looked for a job, and then when he found the job was nowhere near to where they live. So it meant for them to give up this house that they had made into a home to move to another place far away. So the wife was desperate to find a way to get a publisher for her book that she had written with her grandmother's recipes. But she kept getting all these rejection letters of no, it's not good enough, not well enough, low, blah, 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 as they say. Because those rejection letters become to me blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I've gotten a couple of those for my book. But my book, Deadly Negligence, is coming out anyway, despite that. Because you see, God and his son Jesus are bigger than any publisher. They are the supreme chief publisher that will take you to the place where you want to go. But getting back to the story, so they started to pack up their goods and their belongings in the house, and the company that he's going to promised to buy the house from them. Good news, yes, and also, get them a place, get them settled in the place that they're going to move to and take up this new job. But again, the same dream that the daughter and the young child was having, the same exact dream. How does that happen? Only miraculously could that have happened. So they got on their journey, or before they got on the journey, they had a box dropped out on the floor when they were taking things out of the attic. And there you go. It was grandmother's lovely letters that she wrote about her experience and the fact why she wrote down the recipes and all wonderful things. So the wife got typing again to redo the manuscript. And she did. And they left and they got in their car. In this case, it was a pickup truck. And they started their journey to this new place that they knew no one. Only a new job awaits them. So, on their journey, the bright light that they saw in their dreams, the father and the daughter, soon came to fruition, came to reality when they were driving. Because you see, nice drive and fog incurs and there's a crazy man who tries to overtake and passes them, but they did not get hurt because God decided that they needed to see this miracle and his supernatural powers, you see. So, on their journey, There's a bright light that they saw in the dream. And the little girl had painted a tractor. And they saw that too on their journey, because her dad told her to put it on the dashboard. So hence, here comes the tractor in their journey. But what else came in that journey? A man dressed in a three-piece suit, very well coiffed, got out of his car, stopped, and asked them if they were okay, because they saw the crazy drunken man pass by and almost hit them. They said they were fine, but the man, the stranger, requested that this family go to the police and make a report about what just happened. They thought, why do we need to do that? We're not hurt. Nothing happened. So they went obediently, and the man went with them. So while they gave the police report, this man is sitting down, and the woman that they were seeing in the recurring dream, the daughter and the father, just happened to be the wife's grandmother that they did not recognize in the dream. So, some way, miraculously, the man who is sitting down with the folder of the manuscript beside him in the chair, somehow that spirit of that grandmother came and sat beside this man and said to him, "Here, this is my daughter's manuscript, my granddaughter's manuscript. It's very good, you know. Read it." The man hence started to read as the spirit left and could not put the manuscript down. Yeah? And he walked up to the wife and said to her, "This is a great manuscript. I am a publisher, and this is exactly the kind of story we have been looking for." So he offered her some great amount of money, and they were able to forget about the job that the husband was going to and move back into their house that they loved so much and that they had turned into a home. Because, you know, a lot of people talk about, I have a home. You have a house and you buy a house, but you turn that house into a home. And a home is a place of peace and happiness and joy, however long it takes you to make it that way. But a house is not necessarily a home. So they got back into their house that they have made a home and lived happily ever after. Now, hearing that story and seeing that story, I'm just giving you the spoken version. But seeing that story, it made me realize that living in the supernatural, like I choose to do every single day, whether it goes well or not, is really, really, indeed the right thing to do. And also, just in case you thought that God no longer works miracles, I am here to tell you that God truly does and still is in the miracle working business as we speak today. So as you wallow in your self-pity and you attend your own pity party, I encourage you to think of the miracle that God can perform through his son Jesus in your life at this given moment in time. So whether people celebrate or celebrate not the death of another person, there is still a mighty one, Jesus, that can give us the desires of our hearts and take us from mourning and weeping in the night with joy coming to us in the morning. So I hope that I can encourage you today from around the world and in the United States as you tune in, as you listen, as you spread the word about the Diana Wright Show live online. I hope and pray that you will have enough faith to believe that your miracle is around the corner. So I ask you to pre-order my book, Deadly Negligence. It is a great, great true story. Everything in it happened for real. Nothing was made up. And you'll be on the edge of your seat because you just cannot imagine. So I'm asking you today, what is the miracle that God has performed in your life? Would you like to share it? Because I would love to hear it. I love to see things like that, because all it does is makes my crazy faith, my blind faith, a little more blind and a little more crazy. Because I believe that God can do anything just like he promised through his son Jesus that I am praying and asking for. And even some of the things that I would not be praying for and asking for, he will definitely provide it, because blessings come when you least expect them. So, let's move on. Have you wondered what it would be like to work for $7.25? Have you wondered that? I've wondered it all the time. How do people manage on $7.25? That is the current minimum wage that most people, you see, do get in this country. It's not a farce. It's not a faraway thought, because the people who are customer service reps, the people who deliver your pizza, the people who babysit your children, the people who bag your groceries and serve you your food in the restaurants, most of those people are making $7.25 an hour, maybe $8. So when the president suggests in his State of the Union address that Congress should look to make it by 2050 now $9 for minimum wage, and so many people are being negative about it, that truly bugs me. Because I wonder if they're thinking about the person who actually makes $7.25. How do they survive? How do they pay their rent or their mortgage or their other bills? Well, they featured a few people. I chose this one, Crystal DuPont, and she's 25 years old. She has no health insurance. She has not seen a doctor in 2 years. She's behind on her car payment. And she's also taken out pawn shop and payday loans to do what? To cover her monthly expenses. She's used the refund of her tax return to do what? Something very sensible, I thought. To pay her light bill ahead. So at least she will have light to see. Most of these people work 30 to 40 hours per week, and they earn an annual income of $15,000 a year. President Obama is simply trying to move these people from $7.25 to $9. Why are there so many critics, and why are the Republicans so resistant in doing so? Speaker Boehner says, well, if you give them $9 an hour, it's just going to mean more unemployment and the people will just be fired. Can we just simply have some compassion and think about other people besides ourselves? Can we just think of the voters who vote us into this powerful position that we now possess and reel to their destruction? Can we do that as a country? As a government, as a Republican Party, as a Democratic Party? Can we do that? Because we do understand that there'll be rich people and there'll be poor people and there'll be not so poor people. Because forget about that middle class thing. It's rich and poor, not so poor. Yeah? So as we ponder and we criticize the president for even dare to think that he could want to pay people $9 an hour. What can $9 an hour actually do? Really? Have you thought about that? Have you thought about someone else who is not as powerful as you, Mr. Speaker? Who is not as powerful as you, Mr. Paul Ryan, who is Mr. Ayn Rand follower, who believe that if you're poor, it's your problem? It's not always their problem. Not each and every one of us can be wealthy and look good and buy expensive clothes. There are people who struggle every single day to feed their children, to provide a roof over their heads. And some don't even have a job. So who are we to deny them that $9 increase? And it's not even going to come until 2015. It's not like he's saying to do it tomorrow. So it gives companies time. Do you really sit and understand and know how much money some of these companies are making, from Exxon to all the other oil companies and the Koch brothers and all those people? How many homes the Koch brothers have all over the United States? And no one begrudges them for what they have. But why should they be using that power that they have to hold someone else down? It's not right. It is a wrong thing to do. So I am here to plead with Speaker Boehner and his party. The party that wants smaller government. But think, if one of your family members are making $7.25 an hour, having no health care, cannot pay their bills, behind on their car payment, how would you feel, please? Please, have some compassion. And stop thinking about your power so much. And Paul Ryan, him coming out talking about that rubbish that he comes about with his budget again, talking crap about people who are 59. What is he talking about? 56 now? If you're 56, then you don't have to worry. We are all worried about you, and believe it, Mr. Ryan, you will never be president. And that budget that you're coming up with, think about your bank account and all the people, the old people that you're going to put to worry about all those stupid things you're suggesting and want to voucherize Medicare. Why don't you go and take a voucher for yourself and quit the government so we can take back the salary that you have, and the Speaker has, and Mr. McConnell has, and Ted Cruz has, and all those Republicans who are Tea Partiers? Have you really thought about it? And I'm sure those people who are Tea Partiers, if they're entitled to Medicare and Social Security, they're not giving the checks back. And they're not finding their own insurance by themselves. So stop being so hypocritical, all you politicians in Washington, and coming in front of us and with your theatrics. And that's the reason the people in Miami are celebrating the death of Chavez, because he was so theatrical and so dramatic, and most of the time just lying to the people. How long are politicians going to lie to us and we continue to vote for them? Well, my request to you, apart from calling and jamming the phones in Washington and at your congresspeople's offices and senators' offices, is to not vote in 2014. If every one of you stay home and nobody goes to the polls, how mighty the mighty will fall, and see how fast they will start to do something in Washington when they realize that we are taking them seriously. Because they're not there thinking about our problems. They're thinking about their next re-election campaign and how much money they can raise to be powerful and continue to possess power. And that's the reason I always come back to the Pope, Pope Benedict the 16th. A man of humility and great courage, who was willing to give up power because he sees that he was too old, too weak, and no longer able to do the job that he was put there to do by over 1 billion people. And yes, even though we think the Vatican is supposed to be hurrying up to get a new pope, We're told this morning, absolutely not. They're going to take their time as they normally do. So, we'll wait and see. But I ask you to dig deep in your heart today, Mr. Boehner, Speaker Boehner, Paul Ryan, Mr. Rander, Ayn Rand man, Eric Cantor, Mitch McConnell, and Mitch McConnell in particular. You lost because you could not get President Obama to be a one-term president. So give it up and move on. And all they do is profile themselves and come out with new books like Jeb Bush coming out and flipping and flopping all over the place talking about immigration. If you give a person a green card, why are you then going to stop them from becoming a citizen? So don't give them the green card, deport them. Does that make any sense? As these politicians just flip and flop and try to play with our minds to get our votes, don't forget that he is the FCAT governor of Florida. And now that re-election is coming up for the governor of Florida right now, he is now trying to be kinder and gentler all of a sudden. Because what? Re-election comes for him, for Florida's governor in 2014. So all of a sudden he's now trying to be a nice guy. What's wrong with these people? Do they think we're all stupid or what? I'm not. And I hope you all don't get hoodwinked in 2014 and go out and vote for these guys who are doing absolutely nothing for you. And we don't want handouts like Mitt Romney said. We don't want gifts. We don't want free stuff. We're not moochers. We're all hard working. Some of us working without a salary and barely making it, but we're working. How many moochers do you know, Mr. Romney? And Mr. Ryan, how many moochers do you know? And how many people you know that don't want the United States to succeed and press on? Okay, I'm trying to figure out who this is. Hello, good morning.
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, hi, good morning. I need to speak with Dorothy.
Okay, I thank you so much for calling. Anyway, getting back to our conversation, and that person keeps calling this number and asking for Dorothy. Which part of Dorothy does not occupy this number they don't understand? You know, when people call your house or your office or whatever and you tell them they're dialing the wrong number, they continue to call and ask for the person. What do they think? You're lying or something? No. The person just doesn't exist. Don't know anyone by that name. Okay. All right, moving right along before I move on now and after my just asking Speaker Boehner to have some compassion and think about if his daughter was in a position that she could only make $7.25 an hour, wouldn't he want her to make $9? Just asking. Anyway, if you are actually buying a car this year, I know lots of you want to buy cars, and buying a car is a great thing, a wonderful thing, a thing we must do, because without a car, a lot of us cannot get to where we want to go. Consumer Report has come out with 6 cars that are under $18,000. Now, I am always of the premise that it's better to buy an inexpensive car than buy a used car. I'm just one of those people because I've had just bad experiences with used cars, okay? Bad experiences leaving me on the roadside. So, anyway, Consumer Report says these are cars that you can get for under $18,000. Isn't that a wonderful thing? And I'm sure if you go in with your wheeling and dealing, you probably will get it for less. The Mazda 2 Touring. Nice little car. Has a lot of zip to it. The Kia Rio Exec Sedan. And I hope you're writing them down. The Chevrolet Sonic. The Honda Fit. Now, can you imagine they're calling a car the Honda Fit? I guess the car is fit. Fit like when you exercise and you're fit. And then there's a Scion XD. And the last one is Hyundai Accent GLS. And I gather that one is quite luxurious. So you might want to check these out if you're on the market to, go and purchase a car instead of trying to buy a used car. You may just want to be the first to sit in that seat and smell that aroma of that new smell. Cars, when you just buy a car, it has that nice new smell for at least a good couple of months if you don't mess it up. So I'm inviting you and asking you to check out Consumer Report, the 6 cars under $18,000. Who knew? And they look good too on the internet. So you might want to check those out just in case you're trying to buy a car. I think the Fiat 500 too is maybe not under $18,000, but it's probably just above 20. And that's a pretty car. And it's very zippy. I see them zipping past me in the mornings when I'm going down 441. So just want to let you know about that. All right. So what's our next story here? Our next story is President Obama. Remember during the election in 2012 when we were all told that Mitt Romney would be the savior and he's the best man for the job because he's so smart and, because of him, the stock market will go up and people will find jobs. And Rick Scott of Florida also tricked us and talked about let's get to work. Lots of Floridians are still not working. So let's miss them get to work. I don't know. Anyway, remember how they thought that Mitt Romney would be the savior of us. He will find us all those jobs because you see, Mitt Romney is the only person I know that has so many millions in his IRA account. I've been searching and I can't find anyone else. So he's the smartest guy in the room. But how smart was he if he lost so badly anyway? And actually had the nerve to think that he was going to win. So how smart can he be? I don't really know. Anyway, everybody was saying how bad it's going to be if Obama wins again. And remember, after the election, results came out. The stock market indeed went down. And you had all those crazy pundits and people who talk about money on television. Talking about, oh yeah, this is the reason why. And if Romney had won, the stock market would be up today. Well, I tell you what, I don't think those people know anything about what they're talking about because none of us know when the market is going to go up. Because I have been sitting down and trying to figure it out myself. What actually moves the Dow or makes the Dow go up? Well, I tell you, one of the things that did and is doing it this day, as I speak to you and welcome you from around the world and in the United States to the Diana Wright Show, the Dow is going up because of things like this. Under President Barack Obama. He's not so bad after all, is he? 198,000 jobs added by the private sector in February. The Dow is at its highest peak in history. Okay. And last month in January, they're redoing the numbers and it's over 200,000 jobs that were created. Now, I remember President Clinton saying that anyone who wins the election would be celebrating the boom in the economy. And here it is. It's beginning. Because you see, God knows best, and he always has a hand in each and every one of the things that happens. And they're happening by divine order. So as we celebrate the 198,000 jobs and realize that President Obama is not the craving socialist that the Tea Party tries to paint him, we must remember all the things that were said on the day after the election results came out. All those people on all those Fox Business Network and this network and whatever, they were all saying, oh, This is the reason why the market is going down. So that brought me to the conclusion, they don't know what they're talking about. So don't listen to them. Follow your own gut. That little voice that's in your gut is what you need to follow. Not those guys who are ranting and raving. It seems like all of them are Republicans when you check the facts. And as I listened to O'Donnell last night, Lawrence O'Donnell, that's what he was talking about. He said, and he's not even giving credit to the president for this. I'm willing to give the president credit for this. Yeah. So, and I don't think anyone deserves the credit for this anyway. Investors are just feeling good and decide to rally the market. So, alrighty. Now, this is a story that I think is a story from hell. It really is. Once you hear it, I think you will agree with me that this story is one from hell. A millionaire, and I'm going to call this my wow story for this morning. A millionaire named Annie George, she's 40 years old. She has a mansion in upstate New York, you see, and her husband died, and I guess she got all his money. Okay. She's being accused of keeping Valsamma Maathai, who's 49 years old, as a slave in her mansion. You heard me. As a slave in her mansion, and she's been doing this for 6.5 years since the death of her husband. Valsamma is an undocumented illegal immigrant from India. And the New York socialite, Ms. George, forced Valsamma to work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, and made her sleep in a walk-in closet, even though the house that they live in has 26 bedrooms. Now, just in case you thought slavery was over, and you thought evil people are no longer possessing the earth, they are. And it comes in the form of Annie George, a millionaire who seemingly became a millionaire because of her husband's death. The maid said that after the husband died, she then realized that she could not leave the house because she was forced to stay and kept like a slave. Now, I'm not sure how you're feeling about this story, but I am incensed and just sick about something like this. And it reminds me of people who have people working for them and treat those people who are cleaning your houses, taking care of your children, cooking your food, like they're not people too. They're people. And if you're from Jamaica, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Because there are people in Jamaica who have wealth, and they have maids, as they call them, helpers that they're now politically correct to say, helper. And they will work those helpers to the bone. And they will have a special plate, a special spoon, a special glass and cup, special utensils for that helper. Because that helper or that maid, as they call them, cannot eat from the same table. And if you're a fan of Downton Abbey, the PBS very good show, just finished season 3 and season 4 is coming up, you see that. They eat in the kitchen. Those were the old days, because Downton Abbey is coming from a long time ago. So I'm here to ask you, if you're listening to me, if you're watching me from around the world and in the United States on the Diana Wright Show live online, I'm asking you that if you have a household helper, just think of them as someone helping you to do the things that you don't really want to do. Because if the helper is ironing your clothes, washing your clothes, cooking your food, cleaning your house, taking care of your children, which I don't think they really should be, getting sold taking care of your children, because you don't want your children to be influenced by the help. You should have an active role in your children's lives. Yeah. I want you to think and just imagine who those people really are to you. They're helping you. They are, the proper word is actually helpers, because they're actually helping you to do the things that you don't want to do, or you can't do because you're busy working at another job, but you can indeed afford to pay them. And in the US, they don't come cheap, because a lot of them are charging like $60 for 2 hours work. And that comes out to $30 an hour. But I guess you can't look at it that way, because what they're doing is actually manual labor and something that you don't want to do, or you don't have time to do, or you're tired of doing. So how does a woman who is a millionaire decide that she had the power, because of her money, to have another human being work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week for 6.5 years, and sleep in a walk-in closet, despite the fact that that house has 26 bedrooms? I know that God finds a way to punish these people at some point when they do things like this to another human being. And that's what I talked about when I mentioned, I think it was last week, I talked about what would you do with power if you had it? Because most of us, if we have millions, we assume power. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you assume power and you have power, because a lot of us who make millions are stupid enough to finish the millions before we die. And probably some of us, like the lotto winners, become homeless or trailer park residents, or having to find a job again. So just take a moment when we have people working for us, or people around us who are not so fortunate as we are, consider them helping you, or consider that they just didn't get the opportunity that you got. Because I truly believe that each and every one of us, we have a talent, we have potential, we are generally good people. Some of us are bad, but we have generally, and some of us are wicked, but some of us are genuinely good people, just looking for that opportunity, that break that will take us to our passion, that will take us to realize our dreams and grant us all that our hearts desire. So when you decide to look down on people, like I heard the Chinese woman being interviewed on 60 Minutes says that one of the reasons she left the financial industry is because she just did not like the way they looked down on the poor. So Mr. Mighty Wall Streeters and Mr. Romney and Mr. Ryan and all those people are willing to look down on the poor and try to take away what the poor has, or what they get, what aid they get, because they think they're lazy or they're no good or they're moochers. We need to take a step back and just look at our fortune. Thank God for it. See how many people we can help with our fortune. But do not go out and brag and look down on others because you believe that you have now arrived. It's not the right way to go. It's not the right journey to seek or have. Because life is indeed a journey, and one moment can change your life for the better or for the worse. One moment can give you tragedy and devastation, or one moment can give you joy, peace, happiness, wealth, tranquility, and just about anything that you could have ever imagined. So I'm just asking you to dig down deep this morning and find that compassion in your heart to give to someone else who's less fortunate. And also, for those of you who might be feeling blue today, I hope my words encouraged you to come back into the green of life. Because life can actually be beautiful, you see. It's just about how you decide to deal with whatever struggles and tragedies and devastation comes your way. Are you going to be mad all the time? Are you going to cry all the time? Are you going to be pissed off all the time? Or are you going to say, God, you gave me this tragedy. I've done my best. I've put in the work. Now it's your turn to take over. It's your turn to restore to me all that the locust has eaten, the caterpillar, the cankerworm, and the palmer worm, because you promised to restore it. And you promised also to give me double for my troubles. And I'm expecting it as I pray and I ask you. And once I ask you once, I then begin to thank you because I feel like you have already done it and I've received it. And just like the song says, I truly believe that your storm is over and the rain has gone away. Let's usher in the sunshine and live our lives to the best of our ability in humility and commitment to something, to someone. And don't be pompous and selfish and look down on others because they're not where you are in your life, or they cannot afford what you afford in your life. All right. Okay, so we'll just pray for millionaire Annie George, that God would show her the light, because she's only 40, so she has time to see the light. And I hope God shows her the light immediately, so she realizes that it's inhuman, it's inhumane to treat people the way she treated this Valsamma, who is an undocumented illegal immigrant from India. Okay, moving right along. Attorney General Eric Holder, he says that the president has no plans to use drones in the United States. Holder added that drone strikes in the U.S. may be okay in extraordinary circumstances. So if there's a terrorist in America that is American, that is planning to kill a whole lot of Americans, drones may be used because that would be considered extraordinary circumstances. Now, the Attorney General was actually responding in a letter to Mr. Tea Party Rand Paul, a senator from Kentucky. In response to Attorney General's letter, because you see, Rand Paul was threatening, as he likes to do, like he threatened Hillary Clinton when she was talking about Benghazi, that, oh, if I were the president, you would not have a job. Well, guess what, Senator Rand Paul from Kentucky? You won't ever be president. How about that? So you won't have the power to fire anybody. But what is he saying here? He's saying that he threatened to block the nomination of John Brennan to lead the CIA if he did not get some explanation about drones from the White House. Now these guys, do they have any time to do the job that they were there for, to protect Americans? Now, would you rather a drone kill a terrorist, or would you rather send our young men and women into battle, into combat, and get killed? Which one would you prefer, Senator Rand Paul? Have you ever been to war, sir? Everyone is so up in arms about drones. I would be assured and positive that the president is not a crazy guy that's going to use drones just to kill people because he would like to kill some people. I would think and hope and also pray that John Brennan, who was part of the president's inside team and advisor, that they would give it thought before they actually decide to use drones. So I'm not sure what Mr. Senator Rand Paul is threatening about. Well, he knows that John Brennan is going to be confirmed anyway. They did the same thing to Chuck Hagel, who is now our defense secretary. So they're going to kick a tantrum every time the president names or nominates someone. They decide to throw a 3-year-old tantrum. What is wrong with these Republican Tea Party people? Senator Rand Paul, remember, son of Ron Paul, who wants us to pay no taxes and government to be small and government to actually disappear. I wonder what we would have done, or what New Jersey and New York would have done if there was no government after Sandy, Hurricane Sandy. And what would the people in Florida do after they have their hurricanes? And what would the people of New Orleans do if there was no government after that hurricane? Are these guys thinking, he's supposed to be smart. He's supposed to be a doctor or something. But is he using his brain? Or he's just talking to talk? I just wonder, because he actually had the nerve to say, the fact that Attorney General Holder is saying that they would have to use drones in extraordinary circumstances, according to him, quote, they're more than frightening. What is more than frightening is sending able bodies, young men and women, into combat to get killed in Iraq and all the unnecessary wars fought by the Bush administration. Now Afghanistan, and now people are talking about war in Iran. There should be no more wars, because there should be another way of getting things settled and getting things done. So Senator Rand Paul, I guess now that you cannot go through with your threat of blocking the nomination of John Brennan, you will go home and be quiet. How about that? And maybe you are one of the people who want smaller government. You need to retire and go back and practice medicine. That would make it really better for us. And a follow-up from a story that I did last night about the governor of Arkansas. The legislature in Arkansas moved really quickly to veto his veto. So Arkansas State Senate on Tuesday rebuffed the governor's veto of a controversial bill that would make abortions illegal after 12 weeks of pregnancy, voting to override his decision on what would be the most restrictive ban on the procedure nationwide. The Senate voted 20-14 just one day after Governor Mike Beebe vetoed SB 134, that's what the bill is numbered, also known as the Fetal Heartbeat Bill. So they want you to know that as long as there's a heartbeat, no abortions for you if you're in Arkansas. Beebe has called the legislation blatantly unconstitutional and said it would impose a ban on a woman's right to choose an elective, non-therapeutic abortion well before viability. That means well before the child forms into anything. The Arkansas House must still vote to complete the override. The state already has one of the most restrictive abortion laws in the United States after the Republican-led legislature last week overrode Beebe's veto of a similar bill that set the legal abortion threshold of 20 weeks gestation, 2 to 4 weeks earlier than most cities or most states in the United States. The American Civil Liberties Union is right around the corner, though. They are saying now, they have already said it would sue if the 12-week law goes into effect. So expect some abortion battles in Arkansas, because I suspect that the Republican legislature is going to push this bill through, and the American Civil Liberties Union is going to get real busy. What is the obsession with this abortion thing? And it's such an obsession with conservatives in the Republican Party. I guess if there are conservatives in the Democratic Party that are obsessed with it, they're not talking. But the Tea Partiers are talking. The conservatives are talking. All those people are talking. The Republicans are talking. What is the obsession? Shouldn't a woman have the right to choose whether she abort or not abort a child that she does not want? Are we losing control of our own bodies because of the Republican Party? That's something you really need and truly need to think about. As we close the show this morning, and we thank you so much for joining us, we want to remind you of October 5, which is the date that we ask you to save for an event that will be held by Save a Life Jamaica Foundation. President Novlet Gale is putting on an event along with her board and, of course, other people on different committees that are putting it together. They will be asking you to save a life for only $20. And I suspect that you can save that $20 and put it aside before October comes, October 5th. Save a Life Jamaica Foundation, you can go to their website and you can also make contributions there if you decide that you can't come because obviously you're living in Europe or you're living in the Caribbean or you're going to be far away. We still will take that donation and give you credit for doing so. But also, I'd like you to circle the date, April 30th, the National I Love Me date. It's going to be a day just like Valentine's Day, but it's going to be a day for you. You personally, not expecting anyone else to do anything for you. It's a day that you will love yourself. It's a day that you will pour love on yourself. Cherish yourself. Be who you want to be. And teach your children to do the same thing. I'm not saying in love with yourself now. I'm saying love yourself. Because it's worth it. It's the right thing to do. And it's a good thing to do for your self-confidence and for your self-esteem. And it will take you out of any depression that you are in right now. So get on the journey and on the crusade with me as I encourage each and every one of you to love yourself. Whether you're male or female, go to my web store. Look at my t-shirts that I'm selling with just that saying on there. Also, I encourage you to send me emails at dianawrighttv@gmail.com. And I encourage you to call us, whether we're on the air or off the air, so that we can get your ideas and get your contribution. And if you'd like to join the conversation while we are live online, and we are live at 10:30 a.m. and 8 p.m. every day, Monday to Friday, the number to call, 561-228-1921. That's the number to call. So we thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you this evening at 8. If you love something, set it free. If it comes back, it's yours. If it doesn't, it was never yours. If you'd like to sponsor the show or you'd like to advertise on the show, we invite you to do so by calling that number. And if you'd just like to partner with the show, you can send us an email. And please, like us on Facebook, give us the thumbs up, and spread the word. Tell your friends that we are here to hear your voice as you join the conversation with us on the Diana Wright Show, live online. Have a great day. Ciao, adios, and au revoir. And just about goodbye. Dooby dooby doo, be dooby dooby.